Alright, let's dive into this because it's a perfect example of how the sports media landscape is constantly shifting, and honestly, it's fascinating to see how networks like ESPN are always tinkering with their lineups. So, here's the deal. ESPN just announced that Jason McCourty is joining Monday Night Countdown as an analyst. Now, on the surface, this might seem like a straightforward replacement for Ryan Clark, who was let go recently. But if you take a step back and think about it, this move is part of a much bigger trend in sports broadcasting. Personally, I think what makes this really interesting is the sheer frequency of these changes. Monday Night Countdown has had a revolving door of talent in recent years. Remember when Susie Colbert and Steve Young were let go after the 2022-23 season? Then they brought in Scott Van Pelt, Ryan Clark, and Marcus Spears, only to shuffle the deck again with Jason Kels replacing Robert Griffin III and Larry Fitzgerald. Now, Clark is out, and McCourty is in. That's 4 different casts in 5 years. It's like ESPN is still trying to find the perfect chemistry, and honestly, it raises a deeper question. How much does constant change impact a show's identity? One thing that immediately stands out is McCourty's background. He's been with ESPN since 2024 but only recently dropped his game analyst role with CBS. This feels like ESPN doubling down on talent they already know, which makes sense in a way. But what many people don't realize is that this kind of exclusivity deal is becoming more common as networks try to lock down versatile personalities who can wear multiple hats. McCourty isn't just an analyst, he's a brand, and ESPN is betting on that brand to resonate with viewers. Now, let's talk about the broader implications. ESPN isn't just shaking things up in the studio, they're also making moves in their broadcast teams. Molly McGrath, who's been killing it in the college ranks, is now the sole sideline reporter for ESPN's secondary NFL team. This is a big promotion, and it's interesting to see how ESPN is blending their talent across different platforms. But here's the thing, Peter Schrager and Katie George, who were in that role last season, are now out. It's a reminder that in this industry, roles are never truly secure, and networks are always looking for the next big thing. From my perspective, these changes reflect a larger trend in sports media, the pursuit of freshness and relevance. Networks like ESPN are under constant pressure to keep their content engaging, and that often means bringing in new faces or shifting roles. But there's a risk here too. Too much change can alienate loyal viewers who crave consistency. So, while I get why ESPN is making these moves, I can't help but wonder if they're sacrificing stability for the sake of innovation. A detail I find fascinating is how these changes tie into ESPN's broader strategy with the NFL Network. With the acquisition of NFL Network games, ESPN is expanding its footprint, and these talent moves feel like part of that larger play. Dave Pask, for example, is now full-time with ESPN after leaving the Arizona Cardinals. It's a clear sign that ESPN is investing heavily in its NFL coverage, but it also raises questions about how they'll balance their college football commitments, especially with international games becoming a bigger part of the schedule. What this really suggests is that the sports media industry is more dynamic than ever. Networks are not just competing for viewers, they're competing for talent, for exclusivity, and for relevance in a crowded market. So, while Jason McCourty joining Monday Night Countdown might seem like a minor announcement, it's actually a piece of a much larger puzzle. It's about ESPN trying to stay ahead of the curve, even if it means constantly reshuffling their lineup. In my opinion, the real question here isn't who's in or who's out, it's whether these changes will actually pay off. Will McCourty bring a fresh perspective that resonates with viewers? Will Molly McGrath's promotion elevate ESPN's secondary broadcast team? Only time will tell. But one thing's for sure, the sports media world is never boring, and I'll be watching closely to see how these moves play out. What do you think? Are these changes a step in the right direction, or is ESPN overthinking it? Let me know in the comments below.